everyone. IFEST welcomes you heartily, all of you, to this session of conversations. This is our interview series called Unmute. So tune in and listen closely as the artist unravels the art. I am Meher Gandhi, and on behalf of iFest, I heartily welcome author of Tamarind, author Akhila Mohan CG. I would like to introduce you using two lines from your own book. So, a nature lover and a lover by nature.
Yeah.
And author Akhila is a former journalist, and she currently works as a corporate communications professional. She occasionally writes for the international digital platform Youth Ki Awaaz. Her poem, Some Shades of Flower Grey, which is wonderful, I'll be talking about it soon, was featured in the poetry anthology 100 Shades of Love, an anthology of love poetry, which was published by iFest. And her article called Why Do We Assume That Men Aren't Raped When the Reality is Far From It appeared in the anthology Real Men Don't Cry Stories About What It Means to Be a Man, which was published by Juggernaut. She also has a wonderful YouTube channel called Akhila's Book Nook, and I encourage you to check it out because there she discusses about books and authors and literary works that she comes across. And this channel is of great use for us, people like us who love to know more, who love to read more, who love to be connected with the world of be it fiction, poetry, non-fiction, because she discusses about all of these works and she connects the literary community and the literature lovers, and that's just a platform for her to share whatever she gains during her reading journey, and it's a platform for us to gain and benefit out of her reading and her insights. So thank you so much, author Akila, and we are just super glad to have you with us. And I look forward to this entire conversation that lies ahead of us. I would love to go on, but if there's anything you'd like to say, please go ahead. And I have a lot of questions to ask you because it's just very thought provoking. Your work called Tamarind, it's just beautiful inside and out.
I would just like to thank you for such a wonderful introduction, and I would like to thank iFest for this opportunity to present my book and for giving space to my and visibility to my book and talking on the poems which I have written.
Amazing. So let's begin. I know that the viewers are really eager to know your thoughts upon all of the poems or maybe most of them. And so at the onset of the book itself, the tone is set very clearly.
Yeah,
You know, you begin with To My Book, where you mention the word progeny. And there
yeah,
is a sense of treating the book as if it's your actual child,
yeah,
but also retaining that effect of the book being a part of your soul, something that you experience, your inner
yeah.
body experiences, and something that you can't touch per se, but and you then also mention the eternal quality. And so, when you started working on the book, when you were writing poems for it, when you were collecting it all, what was it exactly that was going on inside you? And was it your will to create something that can be remembered throughout the years? Or was it something, extremely personal to you that was being made public now for the readers? So,
Yeah.
what was going on?
Actually, see, I had no plans to publish a book or something. The poems were very personal to me. It was as it is said, poetry is a spontaneous flow of emotions. So it was just spontaneous, moments which I had written down. But then I started sharing my work with some of my friends, and my husband read some of the poems, and he suggested me the idea that yes, you can uh, get it published into a book. And then this ifest poetry competition happened, international poetry competition in 2020, and it was a huge opportunity. It was a very big opportunity because there my work got published. That gave me some confidence that yes, my work can be published. Like any other aspiring writer, I was full of doubts whether it is good, whether it is bad. I'm not a trained creative writer, so there were a lot of apprehensions, but since I also work in publishing industry, like 2 years back I joined a company in Chennai who is into publishing. So I somehow learned the process of publishing, and I realized that it is not as tough as usually people think. Like, usually people think getting published is a big affair and it is almost next to impossible, but it is not that tough. And that process, and like one of the workshops which was on research writing, I guess it was conducted by Manu Gatu sir. So there he had also, spoken a lot about the publishing process. So all
Hmm.
these, because I was connected with a lot of platforms, and that's why I always say that ifest is my like mother organization, in terms of guidance. So it started with that. And then I thought, okay, I have a collection of around 30 to 35 to 40 poems. So then I got it edited, and then I thought, let's start sharing it with the publishers. And then finally, as it's a publishing process, is full of acceptances and rejections. So my work got rejected by many publishers. I mean, I didn't get any reward, as it happens in, in the publishing process. But finally, this publishing house, Kitab International, which is based in Singapore, I shared my work with them. Again, it was shared in one of the groups, Pickwick Papers groups by Manu sir. So I just checked, I take all his forwards very seriously. And though, that communities, they are like associated and connected for academic writing purposes, but I like I'm more interested into creative writing. So I just checked it, and I thought I really liked that platform. And sir had, said really, good things about the publishing house. So I just shared my work with them, and they were also very honest, and they were like, okay, we liked the collection you have. So, and they guided me everything. And then that's how it started.
Hmm.
So it is very personal.
Hmm.
uh, I didn't, think about publishing the collection into a book, but this particular poem to my book is kind of, see, I'm a woman and I do not have a kid as of now. I will talk about it when we'll proceed. But at this point, when you're in your 30s, everybody keeps pestering you about kids. But I do not, somehow can understand these social constructs, and these definitions of being a mother, of having a child. So I think this book is my child, I feel. So, we nurture it very beautifully with a lot of care. So definitely it is not in flesh, it's not in my bones, but I am in completely love with the book because it's my first creation. It's very raw. So whether it is good or bad, we don't know. Well, the child, the parents just raise the child. They don't know if the child will come out well or not. But the child is dearer. Similarly, this is really dearer to me. And if I would have had a human child, I would never, wish him or her to have an eternal life. That's a punishment for someone, immortal, someone as immortal as humans. But for book, I wish it should be, sorry, it should be immortal. That's what. So humans are mortals, and I wanted this book to be immortal. That's
Wonderful.
good.
So, like what you just said, it shows how there is the sense of being, really humble about it, because you are grateful to your friends and family. And I think I, as a reader, and we all as your readers, are grateful to your friends and family and everybody
Yeah.
who wished well for you, because
Mhm.
there's always an encouragement that is needed to succeed in
True.
anything. And you got that
Very true.
encouragement, which is why
Yeah.
we got this book.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
That's very true.
it's dear to you as if it's your child, which it is, and it's dear to us because it's our friend. you know uh, a page is your friend, like you also mentioned in one of your
Yeah.
poems,
Yeah.
that
Piece
this
of paper.
blank page is my friend, where
Yeah.
I can pour out anything. And so these poems are our friends, because through these poems we really, I mean, I as a reader, while reading it, there was this sense of being in the moment, but also the sense of reliving through whatever has happened in our own past.
Yeah.
And so, through your poems, owing to you, of course, but also your well wishers,
Yeah.
we can actually relive a lot of our own moments, which are
Yeah.
portrayed beautifully in your book. So, I will go on and on about the poems, but I also want to ask you a lot of things. So,
Yeah.
in your poem titled "The Palikaranai Marshlands from Our Abode,"
Yeah.
it is a poem which is full of nuances,
Hmm.
like birdhouses and dirt fur walls. And I personally couldn't have imagined that birdhouses and fur walls could exist in the same stanza or in the same sentence. And you did it, and that's the beauty of your poems. And I realized that it is true, because when I see a nest, I don't immediately perceive it as a nest. It takes a couple of moments, and
Yeah.
it's only when you get closer to it, right? And the nuances are abundant in your poem. So, how do you ensure that the intricacies of those feelings, of those emotions, are well conveyed without there being an iota of doubt in the reader's minds? And do you try to write something complicated in a manner that can be easily absorbed by the readers, or is it a conscious intention, or does it just flow naturally to you?
See, all my poems in this particular book it was like, it occurred to me naturally. So I'm not a kind of writer who is too much into the structural, who give a lot of importance to the structural elements of any work. And like off late I attended a writing program, and my one of my poems got published in one of the anthologies by TMYS, Tell Me Your Story platform, in their Homemaker series. And again I worked on a short story, which is soon going to get published. Okay, so I wrote it very naturally, whatever, because all my works will are sorry have some sort of, personal element in it. So I just wrote it, and that was for the first time, uh, when I worked with mentors, and I actually consciously worked on the structure of a creative piece. But these poems are completely raw, and at that point of time I didn't have much networking, I didn't have much idea like whom I can show my work so it can be polished. So it is just raw. And then my editor, my copy editor, Sujit Thomas, he helps me with editing and, eliminating the basic errors. So that was all. So definitely, it's not a conscious effort. I never try to complicate my creative, writing pieces, because I feel the more accessible any piece, the better it is. I personally feel like that. But yeah, this particular poem, there were, different reactions from the readers. Some people really enjoyed it. Some readers could actually understand what I had written, like the between foxnuts and fritters. That was again written in a very subtle way, but some people could connect with it. But there were others who said that it looks too technical. And the same poem was like awarded in one of the competitions, and in another competition it was like, it was appreciated. I got constructive criticism, but there were some loopholes, which the people told me, the reviewers told me, that you could have improved. So I don't think so. Writing, I mean, as you said, it is very natural. I do not intend to write in a particular structure or something, and it is very. It actually happened to me. I live near marshlands, and I wrote it sitting in my balcony, enjoying the view, and that's the reason this is one of my favorite poems, and I kept it in the beginning of the book. I'm so much in love and mesmerized by the beauty, and I enjoyed writing in the process. So I didn't, and that hyponoxia, that absence of
Yes.
oxygen, it
Yeah.
happens. You get kind of pungent smell sometimes. So it is a paradox that those marshlands. So
Yes, absolutely. That's why I mentioned nuances, because when and I have the poem in front of me, and when you say things like cozy abode,
yeah,
affluent Chennai apartment, and the next line you talk about hypoxia and
Yeah.
nauseating sulfurous odor,
Mm.
which is beautiful because and it's wondrous because there's a lot of nature imagery, but there's and which I'll be asking you about, but there's also a lot of things that come in contrast with each other, but very in a very subtle manner. And if you think about it structurally, or even if you think about it just while reading it simply, you realize that it's a huge statement, or it's a huge analogy or a contrast or whatever it is, but it's made so subtly that you absorb it. I as a reader could absorb it, and it's just wonderful. And then I also want to ask you about your poem called The Womb of the Mind.
Yeah.
Your poem, The Womb of the Mind, conveys the essence of how our mind is really the creator. And
Yeah.
like a mother, it nurtures everything that it creates.
Yeah.
And you write the womb of the mind not belonging to a body or a gender.
Yeah.
And in these times, there are boxes of set definitions that we create,
Exactly.
that are created, be it by the people around us, or something that we maybe hegemonic structures that we just absorb and we live
Yeah.
by. And these definitions are these boxes are reflected in the kinds of questions we ask, like the question of who is a woman, and who
Yeah.
are we really to ask such questions,
Yeah.
and there is you also mentioned the line, through which anyone can be a mother and be treated as one.
Yeah.
So, when we ask questions like who is a woman, or when we create boxes of definitions, we really don't understand that either those questions have no meaning at all, or they have not been fully comprehended by the person who's asking such a question. So, how do you comprehend all of this, and in context with what you write in your own poem, The Womb of the Mind? If you read this poem again, is there a new meaning that you can find within it, or does it does your original thought behind it still continue?
As I said, all my poems are based on my personal experiences, right? So, talking about motherhood, like I'm a domestic violence survivor, and mm, my first child, I do not have child as of now. I got remarried, and I'm happily settled in Chennai as of now. But I had a child which was stillborn, right? And when people talk about motherhood and becoming a mother, at this point of time, I'm remarried again, and I'm in my 30s. So people keep asking, why don't you plan for a child? And this is the ultimate duty a woman should have. But as you said, I have asked questions, but I really don't know exactly whether I'm a mother. I am a mother, you know. I'm already a mother. My child is dead, but it's no more. But I am a mother. And secondly, whether I want to be a mother. So these are questions, if you'll ask, I'm really confused about. And I have often seen people with very confident take on such issues, yes, yes or no. But if you'll really ask them, everybody is confused about such things. Why do we take decisions about marriage or motherhood? It's mostly a societal pressure. And the womb of mind, when I wrote this poem, it was kind of an agitation. In a very agitated state, I had written that it's okay. Your child doesn't have to be a human. A, an artist who is painting, for that artist, that maybe that painting would be his child, his or her child. Similarly, it's for me. And why? And yes, the social constructs, the gender roles we assign, that yes, if you're a woman, yes, this is something which is expected from you. But there are many people in my own circle who say we don't want to become a mother, right? uh, so uh, so it's not, I just wanted to convey, not even convey, it was like very spontaneous at that moment when I wrote this poem, that it's okay, I will create through the womb of mind. I write, and that is more important for me, maybe. So It was about that.
And that agitation is very rightly conveyed in the poem, because the
Yeah,
moment you say the womb of the mind not belonging to a body or a gender
yeah,
through which
exactly.
anyone can be a mother,
Yeah, that's exactly.
that conveys that agitation, and that conveys the amount of boxes that we have created around
Yeah,
us. And that again, it's again a revolutionary, there's a revolutionary thought behind it, you know. There's
yeah,
a restraint against something that is set, and something that is either yes or no, and there's no
yeah,
gray. And we'll talk
yeah,
about gray as well, and I would
yeah,
like to go on to the gray question next. So
yeah,
a lot of times we hear that endurance is bravery and strength.
yeah,
And in your poem, titled Some Shades of Love Are Grey, you say exactly the opposite. You
exactly.
say,
Yeah,
and to quote you, you say, "How brave I was not to endure."
yeah,
And we come across such oppositions and contrasts throughout your poems, throughout the book. In your poem, The Hope for a Better Tomorrow, you write a ray of hope, but in context to a day ending.
yeah,
And while usually the start of the day is, associated with rays of hope, at least in my mind. And so specifically to Some Shades of Love Are Gray, there are a lot of meanings that can be drawn from the word gray itself. It can refer to something that is dull, something that is related to confusion or something. And this is the one that I find closest to your to the poem, that is different from what is portrayed. And so, what was your understanding of gray when you were penning down the poem Some Shades of Love Are Gray? And do you have any new meanings to add to it if you read the poem again? So, is there anything new that you can add to the meaning of gray? And what was your original meaning behind it?
actually, this particular poem I wrote for the IFEST poetry competition, and the theme was love. So I thought, what should I write on love? And because this was something like it, very lucidly, it talks about violence, domestic violence in marriage. So I thought I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to write on that particular issue because it is one of the most tabooed issues and one of the most complicated, and like it's illegal. Luckily, in India, in many countries, it is still not illegal. It's okay to hit your wife or anyone, but socially, it is accepted and advocated in our society. If you will see, so, gray, why I wrote gray? Because I come from a family, majorly the extended family, if you'll say. Extended means not the family in which I'm married into, but like my own like paternal and maternal families, the extended, family. So, I come from a family, and maybe it's because of generation, but I have seen people, women being beaten and accepting it as it's okay. And they always advocated that endurance is a strength because they endured, so the family survived, and all the good happened to the kids. And that's the idea. Even now, when that movie, Tapsi Pannu's movie, Thappad was released, so people were like, okay, they had popcorns and everything, and they said, oh, the movie is nice, but ek thappad pe kaun divorce karta hai? That's
Hmm.
what. So people do not understand. It's not about the only about the physical abuse. It's something changes in you. Something dies inside you when this happens. And when it comes to gray, I was always told this is how marriages are. But second time my experience is not like that. And we are forced to believe that women are subjected to these kind of things, and they have to endure. And there lies the strength. There lies her strength. If she endures and if she lets let go everything and the family survives, so the entire pressure is put upon the woman. But in my second marriage, that's not the case. It's just opposite. Marriages can be beautiful. Marriages can be full of love. But we are not told. We were not told like that. Just to protect the that idea that if something goes wrong in your marriage, then you have to endure it, especially in cases of domestic violence. So that's why I thought that what is love? For example, I'll give you one example of one of my aunts who always used to say that, yeah, she is also like a domestic violence survivor and still with her husband. And she used to say, it's okay. See, I'm a winner because my family. I could save my family, and but still he loves me. For 1 year of my marriage, I used to think, okay, he hits me, but still he loves me, because you are psychologically told, you are trained in a manner to understand that this is how love is. So love is gray, and it's very confusing. Still people think, okay, he hits me but he loves me. Even girls I have seen, unmarried girls, they are in abusive relationships, and they say, and they still want to marry and get into that kind of relationship, knowing that the person is, the person hits them, saying, no, still it's okay, the person loves me. So I really don't understand what kind of love this is, who in which the person can hit you, you allow the person to hit you. I mean, it's not allowing, but at least you're enduring and letting it happen, you're not breaking the chain. And at the end of the day, if you go for a divorce, what happened in Vismaya's case, the incident in Kerala, I don't know, she committed suicide or whatever. Somebody, there were news that it was a murder or suicide, whatever it was. But that girl didn't come back to her family saying what people will think, right? So that's how it is. Things are gray, and when it comes to love and these kind of relationships, there is a term, I have not read much about it, the Stockholm syndrome, in which the victim falls in love with the perpetrator. So it has happened. It had happened to me also once. So I wasn't clear. Only when I thought that I'm not able to, bear anymore, and it just happened with me. I was lucky enough. So that's how it is. Some shades of love are gray also.
Wonderful. So, from what I gather is that your meaning of gray is foggy,
Yeah,
and not the beautiful winter fog. It's the pollution smog, really.
yeah.
That's
The
the gray.
doubt.
That's the
Yeah,
confusion that we're talking about.
yeah,
And so, thank you for clarifying that, because uh, more than being culturally specific, it's also specific to every individual, every
yeah,
reader who reads your poem.
yeah,
What meanings of gray are they taking out? Because even in the poem, it's visible. It's very clear that you're talking about domestic violence, but when you come to the part gray, I wanted to ask this question, because there are a lot of meanings that can be
yeah.
taken out of that gray. All might be correct, but I just wanted to know what was your intention behind it, and thank you for clarifying that. And I was also reading your poem titled A Home Filled with Memories, and
Right.
I realized that the way you express the entities of time and space is it's soul stirring, because a place that we as living beings occupy also in itself becomes a living being, and that's something that you convey in your poem by saying, keenly waiting to see people who once lived within her.
Yeah.
And even in your poem called My Cousin, as time progresses, while I read the poem further, the rhyme scheme changes. And in Two Birds Fly Free, the rhyme scheme doesn't change, which
Yeah.
portrays a sense of stillness. To be in the moment while we are enjoying the pictures of birds and seas that the poet is creating for us. And so this is what I gathered from reading these poems. The essence of time and space, and how it's portrayed by you. And so, is there a conscious effort again on your side to bring attention to time and space? Or again, is it natural to you? Or the poems that you compiled, did you, give a thought to how you really want time and space to be conveyed to the readers?
Actually, as I said before, like all the poems are very spontaneous. So the poem "A Home Filled with Memories" is about my ancestral home, and we all were very attached. All like nine cousins, nine siblings, 9 to 10. We are very still attached. And very recently, my parents had to sell it off. And I was talking about that short story. It is about home. It is about that home. Definitely fictional, but yeah. So. You know, it's not a conscious effort or something, but it is my personal experience, that the kind of relationship I had with my home. I don't think so. I don't think, believe that that home was only restricted to the concrete, the bricks, and the
Hmm.
structure. It was more like a living being to me, because of the memories it had created, because of all the four generations, were like born, and they lived together and had memories.
Hmm.
And so, initially, I thought my if you'll see if you would have noticed, all my poems have uh, an element of nostalgia, whether
Hmm.
it's home, whether it's cousin with whom I was very much attached, but somehow we drifted apart. I don't know where she is. I mean, I know where she is, but we are not connected, and there is no reason that why we are not connected. So it's all about nostalgia, and that's why I thought that I will keep. Initially, I had thought that I might keep the name of the book as Nostalgia or something like Memories, but then later I changed. So I think it's all personal. My own experiences, my emotions, very passionate emotions. When I get it, passionate with my memories, I'm a very nostalgic person. So when I get these thoughts, I just pen down.
Right. So your
And
experiences and your I'm sorry, were you saying something?
no, no, no. Please
Uh,
go ahead.
so I was just saying that your experiences of being passionate about the places that you are in,
Yeah,
the experiences you sort of, again I would use the word absorb. You
yeah.
absorb that quality of time and space, and then you portray it
Yeah,
in your
exactly. I go
poems.
back. Like I
Yeah.
go back to those moments. I think about it. Like my family, my own sister was very disturbed. Are you okay? Because actually off late I was taking mental therapy, because we are all working from home and it was getting very challenging, and my husband was going out, and because of the past, at that particular point of time I never took therapy, or a healing therapy or something. So I off late I started it, because I'm also working on my memoir. So,
Mm.
recalling everything was very challenging. So, I started taking mental therapy, and my sister was like, "Are you okay? You think," because she is an engineer, she's not from a creative background. So, she was a little bit disturbed, and she was saying, "You think a lot, you go back to past a lot," while so, so, it's like,
Right.
yeah,
Right. And memory is such a thing. You when you're living, for example, wherever you're sitting right now, there's
yeah,
a feel to it. And then
yeah,
tomorrow, when you think back and when you remember that moment, this moment, there'll
yeah,
be a different feeling to it. And then
yeah.
over time that also changes,
That's
about your
true.
home, and you
Yeah,
start associating the word nostalgia then, instead of
yeah,
being present. And also in your poem titled "The Man Who Dug His Own Grave,"
yeah,
there's this feeling of weight and time,
yeah,
and weight in both the meanings: weight as in waiting for something, and also the
yeah.
weight that is on your head
Longing.
of
Yeah,
something not happening.
yeah,
And So that's also well conveyed through your poems. And in your poem titled "Oh Bird, Why Don't You Come Anymore,"
yeah.
we read about snatching, be it the children being snatched, or be it joy being snatched, or pride being snatched. And as the poem ends, there is again a sense of snatching, something being snatched, because I'm reading to know further about the story, because you write,
Mm,
I will tell you my story. But then the
mm,
story is snatched, and then the poem ends with, "I will tell you my story, how I regained my lost glory." And something so pivotal, this essence of snatching backed by nature imagery, which is again wonderful. This is also present in many of your other poems.
yeah.
So, have you always felt so attached with nature? And when and how was it that you started seeing nuances and emotion in terms of nature? Be it trees, be it birds, be it flowers. You write a poem about a withering flower that I'll be talking
Yeah.
about next. Yeah, I just want to know about your connection with nature. How did it really progress through time to be conveyed through your poems?
I am an ardent nature lover, and I'm an ardent lover of nature poetry. The words were the romantic age, its poetry and everything. So I think nature is a great healer. I feel, you look out, and that's why that's the reason why we took our home near the marshlands, where I can just simply sit and watch the birds and the trees and everything. So I think I have a great connect with nature. I'm a native of Kerala, And I think this influence of the love for nature comes from my ancestors, my father, my mother, who were again big nature lovers. And I feel nature has the ability to heal you.
Hmm.
Like even if you are gardening and if you see the the buds bloom, that can it has miraculous effects on your it can have a miraculous effects on your psyche, because it can just heal you. And that's the time when I think you completely become thoughtless. So that's my relationship with nature. And yes, about this particular poem, as I said, I have a past. And this actually happened in my home, where there were a pair of pigeons uh, with two eggs, and they were like the mother pigeon and the father pigeon were continuously taking care of the birds. And I was very eager and excited. It's a very small thing, but I was at this age to get excited to see a pigeon baby coming out of that egg. So I was very excited. I used to give them food, water, and everything. But there was a demarcation, a partition from the balcony.
Hmm.
So with the distance, I used to enjoy it. But what happened then? One day, some crows came and they killed the babies, and it again took. I was very disturbed because I had a similar fate. So it's a kind of analogy analogy that I have tried to create in the poem, like something similar happened to me.
Hmm.
It just happened. I had a child, but because of this world is full of people which can snatch away things from you.
Hmm.
So that's, but at the end I'm telling that I regained my glory. It was very difficult to come out of that, the trauma and the taboo, the pressure society puts on you, the judgments. But somehow I regained myself back. So it's a kind of, because the pigeons were sad, they weren't coming back to my home. So I just, it was consciously, subconsciously, I just told them it's okay, you will regain what you have lost. So
Right.
that's how
And
I thought.
right. And once you read your poem titled Born Dead,
Yeah,
and then you read this poem, it
yeah,
connects, and it again, like I said in the beginning, it is soul stirring, because
yeah,
you get the essence so clearly. And by you I mean the reader gets the essence so clearly that it's very hard to come out of that feeling for a while, and it takes you a bit of effort to regain, because
yeah,
you're reading especially if you read Bonded, and just after that if you read this Oh
yeah,
Bird, Why Don't You Come Anymore. And I also loved reading your poem titled The Withering Flower. And I
yeah,
want to remind the readers and the viewers that we're talking about Tamarind by author Akhila Mohan CG. And we're talking about the poem The Withering Flower. And even as the flower dies, it still makes itself of use, and it's still
yeah,
full of beauty, a word that
hmm,
you used in the poem, beauty. And as I understand, there is loss of life in its canonical sense. So there's both loss and life. And uh, in your book as well, you've created categories of loss and life. And then there's loss, life, longing, and
love,
love.
yeah,
And so, in specifically talking about loss in life, what was your thought process behind creating those two categories of loss in life, specifically? Because a lot of times life is connected with loss, and loss is connected with life.
life,
And the withering flower, in the withering flower, I see both.
yeah,
No, so what
exactly.
was? I'm just curious to know about your thought process behind those two categories.
See, actually, I think each one of us, everyone's life is, has moments or incidences where they feel loss, the sense of they get a sense of loss. Every one of us, and as the time progresses, you gradually lose many things in the process. It might be a relationship, it might be someone loved, it can be home, property, your, I don't know, your own idea, self concept, or like home. So loss can come in different ways. And I feel everyone is like this, though the poems are personal, but I think when I look around, at one point or another we all go through these emotions. So that is the reason why I you know uh, divided my book into these categories. And initially I wasn't thinking these were all, as I said, spontaneously written poems, but I thought that there are certain themes which are overlapping, so why not?
Right.
And that's how I divided the poem. And loss is a very important emotion, or element in anyone's life, I would say, which each one of us can connect with.
Absolutely. And isn't loss all pervasive? If we experience joy, then in a sense we
Hmm.
can say there's loss of pain.
Yeah,
And vice versa.
exactly. Yeah,
Right.
good thought. Yeah.
So, no, but your poems are thought provoking, and that's
Yeah.
exactly why I want to encourage all the viewers and poetry lovers. Even if you're not a poetry lover, even if you're a reader, even if you read newspapers in the mornings, or any such articles, I encourage you to buy the book Tamarind by author Akhila Mohan CG, because it forces you to think, and it forces you to be in the moment and really think about however it is that you connect with the poems. And how and it was so thought provoking that I had to create my own notes on sticky notes, because I was worried that if I don't write it down right now, at another time if I read this poem again, I might have a different thought.
Yeah.
And so it's very thought provoking in that sense. And your idea behind creating those categories of taste of tamarind, then love, loss,
Mm.
life, all of
Yeah.
those, longing, all of those are wonderful, and it creates a path for the reader, you know
Yeah.
and it's just wonderful. So thank you so
Thanks a lot.
much. Thank you so much, author Akila. And though I would love to go on and on about the wonderful poems in Tamarind, I know that time runs fast, and I would like to end the session by knowing from you, your thoughts on, and your experience. How have your experiences been with ifest, be it the anthology, be it the poetry competition, be it this interaction between us, and anything, how, or any other engagement with ifest, and what are your thoughts on ifest?
I think I joined IFEST 2 years back. It was through word of mouth. One of my friends told it this is a very good organization. She's a scholar in IFLU, Hyderabad, and she told me that I am a literature lover. So I
Hmm.
like I was in search of communities with which I could connect.
Hmm.
So I joined this group. I came in touch with Manu
Hmm.
Gatu sir, and then I joined this. Initially, I had joined the that net preparation group, but then I realized no. I mean, it's okay. I don't want to do this. I really didn't know why I was doing that, and my path is different. And then I joined the Pickwick Papers group. But in the process, I mean, the kind of work ifest is doing, because in my publishing journey, the ifest has played a tremendous role. Because if they would not have published my poem, because I didn't have any confidence, I was just randomly writing those lines, and I was pretty sure that it is not going to get selected. I had told my husband, no, 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 it's not going to get selected, but let's try. So that was the first poem which got published, and they were kind enough to publish it. And the kind of support, like there are many, I keep networking with different bodies and organizations, and everyone has their own, role, has played their own role in my growth. But I don't know, I feel very attached to ifest, because the kind of work they are doing, providing free services like the reading materials and the coachings. Who does that in this age, and if I have come so far, like in 2 years, I wasn't a published author. I mean, yeah, I had that particular essay and article published in Juggernaut, but then I had completely, distanced myself from writing.
Hmm.
I thought, there's a lot of, you don't know things. But after getting associated with IFEST, I came to know how I can shape myself as a writer or as a literature person. The workshops, they all free or at a very minimal cost. That is something which, and I want to give back to ifest. I don't know how I can, but as of now I think I'm only taking and taking. So I try my level best, but I don't know how I can give back to ifest, because I'm sure, like me, there are many others who are getting benefited from ifest in their growth. See, just in 2 years I got my work published, and then a couple of my papers published, and then the kind of learning I had, and I got in touch with such a lovely community, this writing community, which is purely non-judgmental, which is so open and accepting. I feel very safe with this community. And apart from writing, all the things which I have been trying, like recently I told, like I was working on a short story that about that platform, about this publisher. All I came through ifest, my connection through ifest, and Manu Gatu sir, who is the uh, I mean beacon for all of us, I feel. So that's how it is. So a very lovely relationship, very motherly feeling I have. I feel it has nurtured me
Yes.
so far. And yes, regarding the session, I really enjoyed, and in the morning, like when you had shared your thoughts about the book, and I just shared it with my husband, and he was like, he's a very, humorous person. So he was telling me, okay, even you would not have thought so much while writing the poems. How nicely they have analyzed, and they will come to know that you are not someone so serious or something, because they have analyzed even better than you the things. I mean, I can only write, but analysis part is something, I was thinking whether people will be able to understand what I have written, whether they'll be able to connect with it. But I was so glad, and it's so good to connect with people who value your work or what you have written. So it was really great to be in, to be connected with ifest, to be connected to you. So, and the session I really enjoyed.
Great, wonderful words. And when you have works like yours and the poems like yours, I mean, I as a reader, and all the readers, I got really inspired to think beyond. And this was a wonderful opportunity to connect with you, and a wonderful opportunity for us all, be it the readers, be it anybody who's going to be viewing this interview. It's just wonderful that we could talk to you about your poems, and wonderful interactions with poets and authors and artists, and encouragement to learn and know more are reasons why we encourage everyone to benefit out of whatever ifest is doing.
Yeah.
And so thank you very much, author Akhila. It's just thank you so much, and we're really grateful to you. And by being a part of such interactions, by talking about your story and being comfortable, sharing so that other people can be aware and really get inspired from by you. And it's just a wonderful thing and a commendable thing. So I think you're already contributing a lot in your own way for
Thank you.
ifest, because ifest also believes in service, and you're doing
Yeah.
exactly the same by talking about your story so that people can get a path to find their own voices and to be inspired. So thank you very much. And I would encourage everybody who's watching this interview to kindly follow ifest on Instagram, at ifest_official, to stay updated. Ensure that you subscribe to this YouTube channel, because you don't want to miss out on any of the videos, any such interactions. We have a lot of interviews coming up with artists, and so make sure that you're up to date with all the interviews in our Unmute series. And it was just wonderful talking to you, author Akila.
Same
I
here.
look forward to all your future works, and I'm sure that all of us here at ifest and all of your readers and everybody is looking forward to your future works. So thank you
Thanks
very
a lot.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.